Welcome back, San Diego. We are yet again here in the studio. Whew, gosh, we got a good one today. And as I shared previously on any other episode, I am always looking to bring educational, insightful, impactful, meaningful conversations to you. And I think so far we've done pretty darn good with the guest lineup that we've had. But today, this one I've been looking forward to for a minute for all of the right reasons. And when I say, you know, life throws you adversity, life throws you situations, it's really how you get through those situations and come out on the other side using what could be perceived as a setback, but it's really a comeback. So today I have a gentleman on here who served 5 years in prison for distribution. Last July he was released, and now he is crushing it as an entrepreneur. He has taken what would be a setback times 10, and he has made the ultimate comeback with faith, dedication, perseverance, and his love for God and his love for doing God's will and serving and helping people. He is crushing it. And I'm so honored to have him on today. Anthony, welcome.
Thank you very much, Tammy. I appreciate it.
Yeah, otherwise known on Instagram as Unchained Fit. Let's talk about that for a second. Unchained Fit. I know, knowing what I know about you, where that comes from. But tell me about that.
Didn't see it coming. Really did not. It was brought to my attention by one of the few guys that I have in my circle today. My circle is very small. And he said, you know what, man, everything that you do, what you represent, how you operate, you need to be doing this, kind of having a personal development company in helping people, because I'm all about helping people. And so I was part of a group, and it was a faith group. Guy, Eddie Penny, who's a SEAL Team 6 guy, who's a man of Christ, has a real interesting story. And so that group was Unafraid, and that really kind of stuck with me, and that group was a real part of me. And so I was sitting there thinking, and just one day it just came to me, Unchained, and I was like, just because that's basically what I've experienced. I've just let go of everything. I've shed my burdens, my chains that I've been carrying since I was like 10 years old. I really locked myself up when I was 10 years old.
So shackles. First thing that comes to mind are shackles on your feet, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so you and what's crazy about that, Anthony, is it's so symbolic of our life, because there's so many of us that are so bound by our shackles, whether we know it or not. We are literally, I'm going to venture to say, I'd say 50 to 80% of us are self-imprisoned.
I say it all the time. I say since I've come back to society, I see more people here stuck in a prison mentally than were in prison.
Right?
And that's stuck with a few people.
Yeah. So Unchained Fit, I love it. So that's very symbolic of who you were and who you are now. And you're constantly evolving. You're constantly being transformed. You're renewing your mind every single day. I see you on social media crushing it at 3 a.m. in the morning when you're posting, your biblical scriptures. And, and it speaks to me. It resonates with me, and it resonates with everyone, I'm certain, simply because we're all on a journey right now. And when we can take our perceived trauma and our perceived setbacks and share it to help someone, you're speaking to the masses, which is why you're doing so well and you continue to do well. So talk to me a little bit about prison. You were there for 5 years for distribution. I'm not going to assume I know what you were distributing, so share with us. What was this all about?
Well, this was actually kind of the final hoorah, whatever you want to call it. I didn't first get in trouble until I was 26 years old. Came from a pretty good background. It was a single parent background, but father was involved. Got in trouble finally at 26. I was like always a functioning addict. At that point, served about 8 months when I was 26, and then was good until I was about 30. Then at 30 years old, I had the horrible idea to get into methamphetamine. And that really was a pretty rapid decline of my life. Lost employment, lost residency, and was pretty consistently locked up from 30 to 36. I was only out for a year at a time. brief periods of time. And so,
So you were in and out of prison?
of jail,
Of jail instead of federal?
No, it was just stale. It was, LA County Jail,
Okay.
Supermax facility, which is a high security, real serious jail. Then I've done time in Orange County Jail and also San Diego Jail. And it was then about this time of the year, actually, believe it or not, in 2018, I got in trouble in San Diego. It was a high-speed pursuit, and because I always used to run, and found myself in a jail cell again. And at that point in time, I was done. It had been numerous holiday seasons continuously from like 30 to 36, and I was like, what's the common denominator? Is my addiction. And so I surrendered to God. I was like, okay, I'm done. And so at that point was the big turning point. Was released, went to a program, doing very good in the program, had about 8 months clean, getting ready to complete the program. I was fast tracking to be a house manager, and the U.S. Marshals showed up.
Wow.
And they said they had a federal indictment for me from something I had done a few years prior. So took full responsibility for it. I owned it, and I think that was also a major part that allowed me to make the change in my life. Is once I took full responsibility, claimed complete ownership, was able to move forward. And so then I did 5 years on top of that.
So how many years would you say total that you've been in and out of the system?
The journey started in 2008, and believe it or not, just last night, my federal probation officer came by and did a house visit and told me that I can file a petition with the court to have my probation terminated. So I'm looking at finally getting out of the justice system since 2008.
Praise God on that one.
Praise God.
Love that. So I know before I've heard from people who have served time, and I've read it somewhere, and I don't remember exactly where, that the familiarity and the security or the perceived security of being in jail or in the prison system, people tend to go back in and out because of that sense of security. You know you're going to get 3 meals a day, right? Yep. You've got a place to sleep.
3 hots and a cot.
There you go, 3 hots and a cot. I like that. So was there at any time, did that thought cross your mind at any time? The common denominator was you, right? But did you at any time think that maybe subconsciously this was just happening because of the choices you were making? You were in and out because it was a safe place, at least, right?
No, I didn't fall into that category. A lot of guys have and do. It's also for a lot of guys, it's the one place in life where they are of importance. Unfortunately, when they come out to society, they're just another person. They're not some hot big shot like they were in jail or prison.
Right.
So there's a lot of reasons why people, I think, subconsciously or consciously do things and end up back in incarceration. Okay. And it's a really sad thing. And a lot of them are aware of it. And so it's really sad. And I wish there were more. It falls on the individual to make the change and really make the most of opportunities. However, there is a lot of things that convicts, when they're released, aren't provided with. And so I've experienced that firsthand, and only through trial and error have discovered things and learned about things. And I wish there was a little more of a connection from incarceration to society. That transition phase can really be done a lot better. Yeah,
I agree with that, because it's almost like when you're a professional athlete and you're no longer a professional athlete and you have to somehow manage when you're not in this, the limelight anymore. Right. You have to transition into that. That's whole mindset. It's very psychological.
Absolutely. Right? I have a lot of friends that are in the service or in the military or have served, and these guys deal with a lot of the same things. Yeah. The transition, being away from family for a long time, or whether it's addiction issues. Addiction doesn't discriminate. It touches everybody in society. Yeah.
So when you were arrested and you served the 5 years in federal prison, right? What was going through your mind? What were you thinking as far as, okay, this is it, I'm going, I got myself here? What kind of conversations, what 3 things stood out in your mind as you were getting ready to go back into prison? And how did you cope when you were in prison?
So there was a few things. initially the first thing that came to my mind because I had really surrendered, and my relationship with God was and is still on the same frequency. We're dialed in. I mean, he's my homeboy. That's my buddy right
so
there.
So you were strong in the Lord before that. Like, you had established that relationship, and there was no wavering of any sort. So you took it and said, "Okay, God, if this is the cup that I'm going to drink from, be with me.
Absolutely.
Go before me, stand next to me."
And I knew it was that I had been playing we play for two teams. There's two teams to play for in life. And I've been playing for the wrong team for almost all my life. And so making that switch and fighting the good fight, I knew that it was just the enemy trying to get me to fall back and play for the other team.
Where are you, God? Where's your God now?
Yeah.
Look at,
And so I knew that, and it was a real shocker walking into a federal courtroom, and they say the United States of America against Anthony Autry, and they read off, one charge distribution, other charge criminal forfeiture, each one 10 years, 20 years. And I just gotten clean. I was 36 years old, and I'm like thinking 20 years, 50, I'm gonna be 60 years old. Like, so it was a lot. But again, it was nothing. I knew at the same point in time, God doesn't give me anything I can't handle.
Amen.
And so I had faith in that. And fortunately, with it being something old that happened, I think they were aware of that. I had turned my life around. I wasn't messing around anymore, et cetera. That it ended up not being too bad. It ended up being 70 months, but it could have been. I was a category 6, which means I'm a career criminal. And the guidelines were 160 to 180 months. So
do the math on that. Yeah.
And it was, unfortunately, it was for a petty controlled buy, which was only 2 ounces.
Oh my goodness.
Which could very easily be a state case, and that would be like 1, 2, or 3 years.
It's amazing how God will get your attention.
Yeah.
He'll use the most creative ways. You're not going to like it, but the way he gets our attention, right? But what I love about this story, Anthony, is you held true to him. You held on to him through all of this. When you were in prison, what was your day-to-day like? Talk about discipline, right?
Absolutely. So I'd been doing this song and dance for a little while by the time I got to federal prison.
So it's no big deal.
So I knew how to run what they call a program. A program is an individual's daily routine, how they carry themselves, the things they do, et cetera. So I learned how to run a pretty good program, especially coming from Los Angeles and starting out doing all my time in LA County Jail. That's a very serious county jail, and so you have to really be on your game. It's a lot of it. I started doing my time in Supermax, which is higher level security, so everybody's looking at a lot of time, and so there's a lot of manners. If you bump somebody, you say excuse me. All the things that our parents taught us to say are important. Please, thank you, excuse me, etc. So I learned to run a pretty good program doing my time. I'd also, I guess, because I wasn't the dumbest person in there. I had some education. I picked up on things, and so I found myself a lot of times being in positions of responsibility in there, numerous times. So, which kind of leads to kind of today being in a leadership position. I didn't realize it until the other day, but I've been in for a while, for the last quite a few years, in positions where I'm leading men and teaching them how to run a good program or a good routine. So it would consist of getting up early, making sure my bunk area, my things are in proper order, my bed is made. I'm getting into some book. I'm reading my Bible first thing. I'm reading some other wisdom of ancient times, whether it's Stoic stuff or whatever it may be. And then I'm working out, and my time is very regimented. I have a strict, because they're taking time away from me, and that's my most valuable asset in life. And so I've always made it a point not to waste any of the time while I'm in there. So it just became a very disciplined routine throughout the day. And I just carried that on. And so when I got to federal prison, I knew how to do time, and I was just going to make the most of it and just really kick it into high gear since I knew how to do it. And so I really, really crushed myself literally on person from the time I rolled out of my rack till the moment I laid down. I didn't watch. Only TV I watched the Yellowstone series out of 5 years.
If you're going to watch, that's the good one.
That was, I watched that out of 5 years. Other than that, I didn't really, I'd watch some UFC stuff if that came on. But other than that, I didn't watch any TV. I got a college degree through correspondence.
Wow, good.
I took numerous classes, whether it was CBT classes, all sorts of stuff. And so so that way when I came out, I'd hit the ground running.
So how would you say when you would read your Bible, by leading by example, you're bound to, as we know in life, it's going to resonate with someone. Were there any other cellmates, convicts, friends that you made while in the system who came to you and said, hey, I want to know more about the Lord? Did you lead anybody to the Lord at that time?
It's funny you mentioned that. We never know who we affect. We plant seeds.
The truth.
We scatter seeds, and some fall on certain kinds of grounds. And so there was one individual. I could tell he was a good kid, just was struggling with some addiction issues, as I could relate to him a lot. So he would see me read my Bible, and I knew his addiction was. So I led through my actions in regards to my faith and everything, which he was well aware of. But I did throw him like an NA Living Clean book because I wanted him to at least kind of grasp that concept first. So I would see him reading it, and I was in a position of, I was the rep or the shot caller in that unit, and he ended up, getting pretty good. I would have him, he'd be an assistant of mine, somebody that would help take care of things. Not in much of a physical way, but just like help take responsibility for things, delegate things. And so I was there for a little while, and I didn't know what kind of really impact I made on this individual. Just recently, he found me on Instagram and reached out to me and said, hey, you planted a seed with me. That was the first time I had seen sobriety on somebody that was attractive. He said, today now I'm sober. I'm part owner of a tattoo shop.
I love it.
I've gotten my dad sober, and he's also a believer now too. I actually did tell him, that a good place to start for some people is just to read Proverbs. Whatever day of the month it is, read that.
Agreed.
And so it's funny, he told me, it happened to be like on Proverbs 7. And he just told me recently how it was Proverbs 7, and then he ended up going to court one day, and there was a Bible in there, and he opened it up, and it turned to Proverbs 7, and he read that, and because he was also, the case he was on had to do with his girlfriend, and Proverbs 7, of course, is about a not very good woman, and so...
Questionable.
Yeah, quite. So
a questionable
he had
woman.
these numerous incidences occurring to him with Proverbs 7, and so that really got him to open up, look more into it. So today he's a believer. He's actually on my team, and he's doing really well. He started in August at 22% body fat. I think yesterday he's now at 15% body fat. His wife is now working with my wife because she's starting her own program. She's killing it, and they're both now just pushing each other in a very healthy way. They're both
edifying each other.
They're both getting in better shape.
Yeah.
They're, it's just, and that's what I've talked about a lot of the time, is just how the most important decision we make in life is who we choose as our spouse.
Oh, isn't that the truth?
Most important decision, because if that's not good, everything else in life is out the window.
You have to have that equally yoked. You have to,
Absolutely.
And you have to constantly putting God first, obviously, right? And 100%. Everything will fall into place.
100%.
Everything once He's number one. Did you ever at any time question yourself and say, you know what? Why do I keep doing this? And then yet there's this other voice saying, it's okay, you got one more shot. You can do this. You can get away with it this time. This is the last time. This is the last time. These bargains we make with ourselves. Yeah.
In my addiction and everything?
Everything. All of this whole journey from start to finish, and then finally serving 5 years.
It was interesting because whenever I would do time, a lot of guys get in there and they continue their addiction, they use and get high. But it's a pretty serious place, and I wanted to be on my toes, and I wasn't going to, a lot of things always occur from people with dope debts and stuff like that. So it was tough. I would have a lot of clarity. I would do this time, I'd be sober, but I'd get out and life would happen. Life would happen, and I would just resort to going back to my addiction. And so I guess it just was at a point, once I was just sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I knew that things are going to happen in life that are out of my control, and I need to just let that go, just control myself. I can control myself. So that's why I'm just such a stickler on fundamentals and getting ourselves in proper alignment, because that's all we can control.
True. Yeah. Was there ever a time, Anthony, and it doesn't matter when specifically, where you just wanted to give up?
Oh, all the time.
How many times?
Countless times.
Yeah.
And that's, I think that's what would happen is I would just give up and I would go back to my addiction because that's what I knew. That's what was comfortable.
Now you're out completely, and you just got the great news yesterday. At what point, did you meet your wife? Because you guys are happily married and you're working on this thing called Life Together. And it's such a beautiful thing to watch you both on social media just do your life together. You've gotten out. Now you're an entrepreneur. Now you're changing lives. You know, the stigma that comes with serving time in prison and the addiction. How did you overcome that in your own mind and say, okay, there's a place for me in this world, in the professional world. Like, I can make my mark with all the things that I've been through, and my stigma is not a stigma. It will only catapult you into success, because there are people out there that have served time. There are people who have that on their record, who are probably thinking, gosh, I'm never going to get a job. Why do I even bother trying to get a job? You know, resume, what resume? What am I going to do? Put that I served time on my resume? What would you encourage, or how would you encourage that young person that's there right now saying, okay, I'm out of jail, but I'm smart. I want to have a business. I want to make something of my life, but are so afraid of that stigma because you're doing it. What would you suggest?
Again, everything first off just starts with the self. And so first and foremost, it's highly overlooked how important self-talk is. So the self-talk has to change first. There cannot be any, I can't get a job, I'm not good enough. It's got to be positive self-talk. So all the negative self-talk has to go first. Okay. Number one. Number two is, you can't care what anybody thinks. I stopped caring what anybody thinks. That's why I put everything out there. I don't give a hoot what anybody thinks about any of it. I'm putting it all out there, and you know what? I'm helping people, and that's, to me, that's my purpose today. So I just share it all. Biggest thing is honesty, like I'm saying, honesty, open-mindedness. So that comes in with the self-talk, and willingness. So you got to be willing. You have to put forth the effort. So there's plenty of jobs out there for felons. I mean, whether it's getting into any kind of union work. I mean, if you want a job where you're making good money, I got out and I went into the halfway house. If you need a job and you're a felon, you have a record, go to one of the halfway houses. They got resources for days. You could pick what kind of job you want. If you want to work construction, if you want to work. I got out and I picked up a job with the Iron Workers Union, where it was starting off like $30 an hour plus like $6 or $8 an hour vacation pay. I got out as a multiple convicted felon, and I was making almost $40 an hour starting off.
That gives you hope.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it just, the self-talk is so important, because it's where somebody can defeat themselves before they even get started.
It's like the thoughts that you have, right? And then they become words. You really have to be careful.
And your words become your actions, and your actions become your character, and then your character becomes your destiny. And it all starts with a thought. And when you start spiraling like that too, especially when you feel like the chips are stacked against you. So for those who are trying to get a job, obviously there are places that will hire. The union will hire. Did you ever? Home Depot, Whole Foods, are just a few off the top that I know.
Yeah.
But there are a lot today, more than ever in the past. There's people that do hire felons.
How would you encourage that person who is overcoming addiction but wants better for themselves besides the thoughts and the words? Because that first step's always the most difficult.
Absolutely.
Right? It has to get worse before it gets better, like anything else, right?
Most of the time.
Yeah. So how would you encourage that person who's listening, who's thinking, you know what? Is it really doable? Can I do this?
100%. You have to get around like-minded individuals. We're products of our environment, just like our parents told us. And so it's very apparent to isolation is not good if you're an addict. So find like-minded people, go to some meetings, or find people that are sober. Like, I don't associate with anybody that's doing anything. Sometimes the worst it'll be is if I know somebody and they're drinking some alcohol. That's it. But I don't associate, or I'm not friends with anybody that pretty much uses any substances. So find like-minded people, get involved in that community, and go all in. You know, if it's the thing that really helped me get sober was I was involved in like the residential drug program. So it's the same thing where if you could use like NA or AA, for example, go to these meetings, find the community, whatever the community has to deal with. Find the community and then go all in on the community. Yeah. Volunteer, take commitments, get active in the community, take on responsibility, and just throw yourself 100% into that community. And you will build, you will develop relationships. You'll have people that will help hold you accountable. And again, it reverts back to those three things I mentioned earlier: honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. You got to be completely honest, because if you're not honest about what's going on in your head or the things you're doing, nobody can help hold you accountable. You got to be willing, like I said, and honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. So those three are. It's almost like,
he's such a good God, right? He's so gracious, and he has so much mercy on us that every time we mess up, he just sits there and he just goes, whenever you're ready, I'm here. And when we decide to lean in, to really lean into that relationship and lean into the goodness that he has for us, literally just seek him and nothing else. That's kind of what comes to mind when you say that, right? When you make that decision to lean into that, watch what opens up for you. So your world has changed. You're now out. You're an entrepreneur. You're coaching. You're changing lives. You've got this fitness business. You met your wife. Tell me a little bit about all of that now. So what's on the horizon for Anthony and his wife? You know, you've taken everything that you've been through and you're applying it to now, today, and you're thriving.
Thank you. So many good things happen pretty much on a daily basis that it's almost, hard to keep track of.
It's overwhelming.
It really is.
It's in Ephesians, what is it? Ephesians 4? It's what overflowing and abundant. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. And so I love Ephesians 6. I strap up my whole armor of God. I touch on, so I think, we have to go through adversity. So understand, if you're in addiction and you're going through things, that's suffering. And we're going to suffer one way or another. We either suffer into greatness, or we suffer and stay complacent and stay inside our box. So we're going to suffer either way. So through all my suffering, then I've made choices, I've bettered myself, and today I'm just grateful. So I wanted to kind of touch on that. Today I just live in a state of gratitude. So there's sunshine on the other side, but you have to suffer. You're going to suffer one way or another. What's on the horizon for us is everything.
How did you meet your wife?
Everything.
Because we met
at jiu-jitsu.
Oh, I like her already. A woman doing jiu-jitsu. Okay.
She does. We've gone a few times and everything, but no, we didn't. We actually met on an app. Believe it or not.
Back up. Okay, now you're giving me hope. Because I am so app averse when it comes to dating. But when I hear success stories like this, it makes me happy. So okay.
I was pretty much done. I had got on some Christian ones and didn't find very Christian-like women. And then I got on another one just as kind of like a last hope. I wasn't really feeling too good about it because it wasn't exactly.
I'm going to create an app called Here's What's Left. Because that's kind of what it is.
And she was done too. Yeah. She was literally done with it too. And she had God telling her, okay, give this one last guy a shot.
Wow.
And so we met. And
how long ago was this?
This was just the beginning of the year.
This year?
This year.
Whoa, I love this story even more.
This year,
okay.
We met. I thought she was way too serious for me when we first met. But I was like, there's something here. And so we got together again, and just even on the second time, her guard came down a little bit. I guess she tells me she thought I was really serious too. So then I guess at that point, the first time we were just both very serious.
Yeah.
But yeah, guards came down, we got comfortable, and it didn't take very long. Her faith is number one to her. And I knew that I had a list of the traits and characteristics that I wanted to have in a partner. And so not only did I have my list, I made sure that I was doing everything that's on that list as well. It's a very important thing when looking for a spouse. It's things these life coaches talk about. So she had all the boxes checked. I was checking my boxes, and I think it was only like a month and a half, and I proposed.
What?
Yeah.
A month and a half in?
Yeah, about that.
There's hope for me. There's hope for me. Okay,
Yeah.
so you've been together since the beginning of the year. Okay, and life is just going 100% full throttle
100%.
every day, every second. Gratitude, things are changing. God is moving. She does what by trade?
So she was involved in fitness for a long time, many years, and then has just resigned from. She's an RN, and she was working at a med spa kind of place, running a laser for dermatology. So she just put in her notice. Yesterday was her last day, and so she's jumping on full board. We're going all in. So she's gonna start working with the women. I work with the men, and we're just going to build this thing. She's also helping us with the Ghost Kitchen that I've opened up. My family owns a couple of restaurants. So I initially got in a few months after I was out and working with the Ironworkers Union. It was a plan for me to come help assist them with the restaurants. That's the degree I got was business management, hospitality. So originally I was to get on and just help fill in whatever gap I could. I moved into management, and then it's moved into operations. And then I've opened this Ghost Kitchen by SDSU. So I'm kind of taking a step back from the brick and mortars and just working on this cloud kitchen. So she's jumping on, helping out with that already. She already got payroll involved, got everybody's stuff entered for this pay period. So she's a really big help. And I can just see with today being day one of how much it's really going to just help this thing accelerate. So I would say if there's anything in life that's a big challenge, you got to go for it.
Yeah.
Because that's where the growth is made. I've done that in the only reason I've been so successful today is because I've gone all in and taken big risks in what I'm doing, the entrepreneurship business.
What drives you?
God.
Okay. I was going to say, yeah. That fuels you. That right there is like
Absolutely.
the reason you do that because we're here to serve.
Absolutely.
Period.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what our vocation is. We're here to serve.
Absolutely. I've always been a people person. I've always liked to help. I've always done for others before I've done for myself. So, but I realized that I have to make myself a priority. I have to respect myself in order for anyone else to respect me. And by making myself a priority, it's a very selfless act. A lot of people struggle to grasp that. But it's only once I do that and I get myself in proper alignment, I call it, spiritually, emotionally, physically, psychologically. At that point in time, my energy and my frequency is at its highest. Like the highest frequency is gratitude. And that's where I live in today through all the suffering I've put myself in, and now I voluntarily put myself in every single day, whether it's getting in a cold plunge or if it's jumping on the Stairmaster, or whatever.
Do the hard things.
Doing the hard things. I live in a state of gratitude. And so it's just through this whole process of at that point, I'm able to do so much more. I'm able to do more for my wife. I'm able to do more for my family. Not only that, it really motivates and encourages others to step their game up. So I've got
Lead by example.
100% lead from the front. And so now I have like my older half brother who's a big guy and has been overweight for a long time. He's making his health a priority. I'm pushing my father, who's always pushed him harder in the gym. He's 82 years old and he's crushing it in the gym, and he's watching what he eats more. And so it's a very selfless act, making myself a priority.
Well, because, and that resonates so hard with me too, because in the line of work that I have been blessed to do, real estate, The grind is a grind. It doesn't matter what you do. You can hustle, you can grind, you can do, and you can go, and you can be there for everyone. But if you don't fill your own cup, it doesn't matter what you're trying to do, because with the way I look at that is if I'm just completely depleted, it's not fair to my clients. It's not fair to the people in my life because I'm not showing up 100%. You're getting the exhausted Tammy, you're getting the depleted Tammy, you're getting the woman who's half empty Tammy, and that's not how I roll, right? I think of all the tragedy and the suffering that you have gone through and that we all go through, and it always brings me back to Jesus dying on the cross. Who are we to say, God, this is too much for me, right? If we think back to the cross, who are we to complain? Like, honestly, let's break it down, right? The pain he endured. So whatever we go through, whatever affliction we go through, whatever adversity and trauma we go through, it's not even about why God. It's like, why not? Okay, you chose me. Let's go. You must trust me.
Absolutely. Like I said, he gives certain journeys to people that can carry it.
That's right. If there is one thing or maybe even two things that you would like to encourage the audience that you haven't shared already, given what you've been through, given where you are, given you live in a constant state of gratitude, given that all of these blessings are just pouring out on you and those around you, what would you share?
Three things, I guess. It'd be number one, find God, develop a relationship. Don't worry about all the ritualistics of it. God's my homeboy, man. He's my friend. I just talk.
It's a T-shirt waiting to happen.
I just talk to. I talk to him like I think he's hilarious. I talk to him like a friend. So learn to just communicate like that. Number two would be find discipline. Discipline equals freedom. And number three would be start. Just start. Do not stop hesitating. Stop procrastinating. Once we hesitate on something, that then can turn into infinite and something will never get done. So just start, go, get after it. Stop waiting. No such thing as tomorrow. All we have is today. Go get it.
And with that, for those of you who have been contemplating making a change in your life, whether it's personal, spiritual, financial, emotional, professionally, whatever it might be, just start. That's it. Just start. Take one step, because at that point, the next step will make itself known. Absolutely. And trust God. Anthony, it's a joy. I love your story. I can't wait to see what else. You guys need to find a way to make a movie out of your life. I think that's what's next on the horizon, so that you can share with everyone more than you already are.
I've been told numerous times also about a book, so I think that's probably one of the next steps now that we're all in, and my wife's going to help out. I'll have a little more time to do things, so I think a book is probably going to come next.
And then the movie will follow, and then, that's just kind of how it rolls. But as always, San Diego, grateful for you, Anthony. Thank you for being here today, and it was wonderful to meet your wife as well. You guys, if you want to reach out to Anthony, he is Unchained Fit on Instagram, whether it's for coaching, whether it's for inspirational, whether it's for leadership, whatever. If you have been in prison, or you know someone who's been in prison, or you're suffering through addiction, and you want to talk with somebody who has gone through it, is going through it, and is on the other side of it. Not saying it's easy.
No, it's not.
But
easy.
There is an end in sight. There always is. There's light before the dawn. It's dark before it's dawn, and that's exactly what we're talking about here. Reach out to me. Reach out to him on Instagram. Thank you for sharing your time with us. And as always, we appreciate you, San Diego. Peace out.